about miracles. This young lady here is a walking miracle. She was involved in an automobile accident, and tell us just exactly what happened.
I was coming home from work one night, and it was, just a normal night. I got off typically around 11, and I was driving home, just like everybody does, every day of their life pretty much. The lights were out in the upcoming intersection, and so I slowed down, I stopped to look both ways, and I pulled forward. I was going about 15, 20 miles an hour, and out of nowhere this car comes speeding like 65, 70 miles an hour and T-bones me. And at that point, I was calm. It was like a peace came over me. I knew that I was going to meet my Father in heaven, but I didn't. The car stopped, and I realized I was still living, I was still breathing, and I was scared, and I was terrified. I didn't know where I was or what was going on, and I had to take a moment to collect myself. This man came running to my window, and he was going to break out the window. I was like, no, don't break out the window. And he came around and he got at me. He was just shocked by my appearance, because I was bruised, and I was battered, and I was torn, and my legs were just shattered. My foot was barely hanging on, and all I could think of is how will I ever walk again? How will I ever do anything I love to do? And this girl comes out of nowhere, and she gets in the car, and she prays with me. And it was like the peace came over me again. I knew that everything was going to be okay. And it took them over 45 minutes to cut me out of the car. It was a very painful procedure, and I got to SLU, and I went through 9 surgeries total in a matter of 4 or 5 days. And they told my parents I wasn't going to live. They brought in the chaplain to speak to him, and they said, you have to realize the circumstances of what happened. You may have just been in there talking to her, but she's not going to pull through. She's lost too much blood, and the injuries are too extensive. And then I made it. I pulled through, just to turn around and for them to tell my parents, we're going to amputate her leg. It's too extensive, there's too much damage. Her blood is cutting off the muscle tissue, and she'll never be able to use it again. They went through an emergency surgery, and I pulled through again. Despite all odds, despite every factor that the doctors were telling my parents, they were shocked, they didn't know what was going on. I made it through again. I was in a wheelchair for 6 months. They told me that, we'll try to get your strength up. I couldn't, in those first 2 weeks, I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't eat. I couldn't dress myself. I was solely dependent upon the people who were taking care of me. And about 6 months after the accident happened, I was going into physical therapy just to keep my legs active so that I wouldn't lose all the muscle tissue. And I had stood up on a couple occasions, but I'd never walked. I'd never been able to take that first step. I was scared. I was petrified. And one day, I got crutches and I walked. And I took those first steps.